Let's bring out our next company, dar.fm. Dar.fm.
Hey!
Yay!
Yeah!
Now we got a pro out here. Awesome.
How you doing? Thanks for having me. I bet everyone pretty much here has a DVR. Have you ever been talking to somebody or listening to the radio and then wanted to like reflexively hit the rewind button? What do you say? What do you say?
Yes.
You know? Well, you can't do that in human conversation, and you can't do that on the radio until today. Because today we're launching a service called dar.fm, D-A-R. All of you have a digital video recorder. Well, starting today, you're going to have a digital audio recorder. Only this is a little bit different than your DVR. Your DVR, your cable company has to give you a box. You got to rent it, you got to buy it, lease it, whatever. But with DAR, it's all in the cloud. So enough talking. Let me show you what it looks like. Hello. Can you see that? Yes, you can. Great. So this is the main page of DAR. Let me zoom out a little bit here. What we've done at DAR is we've put together a directory of thousands of stations and shows. And what you're looking at on our main page is the categorization that we have. So we have talk radio, music, and station guide. Let's talk about talk radio. 53 million people a week listen to talk radio, a huge number. And what we've done is made it so you'll never miss a show. So I'm going to click on the talk radio section here. And what you see is categorization of all the different talk shows that are out on the radio today. Business, conservative. Let's go record some stuff. Let's click on NPR. You see there's Car Talk. Let's record that. Click the red button. Let's record Fresh Air. Let's record NPR's Morning Edition. Now I'm clicking record. The service knows all about when it's on, what station, how long. It knows Car Talk's only on the weekends. It knows Fresh Air is on every day. All that's taken care of by the system. Let's go back and balance the political scale here with some conservative stuff. We'll click on Dennis Miller Show. This time I'm going to, instead of clicking on the red button over here, I'm going to click on the name. And you'll see that there's 20 or 5 or so different stations that carry that. So if there's a specific station that I want, I just click this red button and it's recorded. So that's the talk. Let's go record some music. How about that? I can click on the style of music that I want. Let's record some hip hop here. And I can drill down and select stations as well, individual stations that I might want to record. The last thing I want to show you is the station guide. Let's say I'm a transplant, right? I'm from Boston, I'm in California. I want to record my Boston stations. Let me show you how you might do that, right? Here's a list of all the stations in our system. We'll go down to Boston. Here's a couple, WZLX. Let's zoom in a little bit here for you on this one. I'm going to click on WZLX. I can record it now, a couple different hours, 3 or 4. Or maybe there's a morning crew that I want to record, right? I want to say record it at 7 a.m. for 3 hours. And now I'll record that morning crew every day. So DAR takes care of all of the recording. If I go up to my schedule section here, sorry if I'm jumping around, I'm trying to make you guys in the back be able to see. If I click on the schedule section, you'll see there's the classic rock, there's the NPR Morning Edition, tells me when it's going to record next. Now remember I told you this is in the cloud, right? So all those recordings that are happening are going to be stored on the internet. And of course that means I can access them anywhere. And of course that means any computer. That's what I want to show you right now. I'm going to go to this window right here. This is an iTunes type of player for all the things that have been recorded. This is a station, a locker I recorded yesterday, and there was 4 radio stations I recorded. These were all classic rock stations, and you can see all the artists here that showed up, right? Doobie Brothers, Doors, Eagles, etc. And I can click and play something here. Let's play some Def Leppard. Wake you guys up. Now, just like my DVR, I can skip around, so let's skip to the middle of the song. Or I can skip to the next song, right? I can say, I don't want to listen to Def Leppard. Let's listen to Tom Petty. So just like your DVR allows you to skip forward, rewind, pause, we do the exact same here for for audio. But of course, we can do it on a lot more than just the web browser. Today, when we launch, we're supporting a wide range of smartphones. So if you have any of these types of phones right here, iPhone, Android, Palm, or Windows, then you can download a free app that will let you stream all this content right to the app. So anything that's recorded in your DAR will be available right on your device. But also, we can take it into non-smartphones. These are some of the other devices that we support today: Roku, AudioVox, Logitech. I'll show you this one right here. This is $150 at Best Buy from Logitech. Take it home, plug it in, connects right to DAR, plays all your music while you cook dinner or by the pool or whatever. What we're trying to do with DAR is modernize radio. Hasn't changed in 100 years, been left behind, everyone's been focused on video, but we're gonna make it modern, make it interactive. Young people don't listen to radio anymore, at least they're on big decline. We think this will change it, so I hope you'll try dar.fm and let me know what you think. Thank you.
Okay, panelists, judges, what do you think? TiVo for radio in the cloud?
What are the rights issues?
So the question is, what are the rights issues? We should be on solid legal ground. Let me tell you why. There was a fascinating case called Cartoon Network versus Cablevision. What Cablevision is a cable company, and they wanted to launch a network DVR. So instead of giving everyone a set-top box, they said, I'm just going to give people a remote control. And when they click record, I'm going to record it all in my central office. I'm going to have all the equipment in my office. And the media company sued them and said, you're making copies without our permission. And that's copyright infringement. That went through the courts, and Cablevision won. And the reason they won is the judges said that as long as that user is hitting that record button, even if the equipment is in Cablevision's office, even if Cablevision made the guide and all of the setup, it's still the user that's doing the recording, and therefore Cablevision was allowed to do that service. And in fact, they launched that service 3 weeks ago in Brooklyn for $10.95 a month. You pay the monthly fee, and any TV in your house can watch the video that you record from any other TV in the house.
So you have an incredible background doing mp3.com. I think you're the most successful entrepreneur in the music space, at least from returns.
What do you mean, do it? This is the guy who disrupted the whole music industry. He was the first one to be sued for $300 million and got away with it.
Yes, that's why he's successful. So the question is, what's the source material is all radio?
Yeah, I should have mentioned that. What we're recording is internet radio. So these are all the radio stations that are freely broadcast over the internet. So we're not, capturing a signal in San Diego where I'm from and letting somebody in Alaska listen to it. It's only freely available radio station that's broadcast over the internet.
Got it. And how do you deal? I remember there's some issues 5 years ago with XM and satellite and being able to record off of XM where there's a certain carve out for rights. Does the same apply for radio as well in terms of being able to record as long as you're hitting the record button? Right. So there is one part of the copyright law, section 114, which puts limits on the radio stations, what the radio stations can do, what they call the transmitting entity. A transmitting entity, they can't encourage or induce people to make recordings. But of course, we're not the transmitting entity. This is just a third-party service.
One thing that you said that stood out to me was that young people don't listen to radio, and we're making this modern. I don't think that your brand or your design match up with your target market if your target market is younger people. So I would recommend hiring someone that understands design well and could rethink that. The other thing is it would be great if there were a podcast, like if I could get an RSS feed of my recordings and just drop that into iTunes so I don't have to have it in another app. That may not work out with your business model, but maybe it does.
So a couple questions. On the interface design, I'm going to challenge the panelists here. I don't think interface design matters nearly as much as these guys here, at least not the glitzy part, right? What matters is the functionality. If you look at the classic examples, eBay, Skype, Yahoo, and go through the list, none of those were fantastic design implementations. Now, over time, they modify it and things like that. So I'll challenge you a little bit on that. Clearly, I think people look at the functionality.
I could pull back just as many that companies that do have great design, that's kind of the crux of
I will have to disagree on that. That's fine. I hear your point. On the second question, the second point was
a podcast. Like
podcast.
If you had an RSS feed where you could just drop it into iTunes and it just already folds right into my workflow.
That's a real good point. We don't have that, but we should definitely look into that. That would be great because we do have an open API. So in fact, the apps that I showed you that are on those different platforms, most of those are written by third parties, not even us. So we're not writing apps. We did write the Android app, but not the other apps. So that's a really good thing. The one part that I should mention about the difficulty with podcast is that everything that we do is password protected. So we'd have to make sure that we figure out how to handle authentication on podcasts because I don't think a lot of podcasts have authentication built in.
A lot of them, actually some of them are starting to now, so for this very purpose, to have a subscription base, but also to have the opportunity to control and protect the RSS feed, but allow it to those that subscribe. So if the subscription is free, it's still the same sort of quality and opportunity for the consumer. I think your presentation is pretty fantastic, by the way.
Thanks.
Maybe you said this, I'm sorry, but what's the revenue model?
What's the revenue model is the question. Today, we're not focused on the revenue model. The way I look at it is the following. 40% of homes have a DVR. I want to make it so in a couple years, 40% of Americans are using a DAR. And I want it to be through my system because if we're controlling that flow to the ears, then we'll have plenty of revenue opportunities. So I could sit up here and say, hey, there's great advertising opportunities and subscription. I think that's all true. But when you're creating a consumer service, you got to get to tens of millions of users. So today we're launching as a free service. There are no costs at all.
Do you know what percentage of households have Sonos?
The question is, what percentage of homes have Sonos?
Yeah.
Less than one.
I mean, I think people out there.
Right. So Sonos is a high-end music playback system. It's zero for my intent. Listen, Sonos is a phenomenal system, but it's way too expensive, and it's a high-end toy. What's more interesting is devices like this, $150 at Best Buy, and the prices are coming down. That's a more consumer-friendly product just because of the price point.
Let me ask you about...
I guess all I'm asking is if there's like three paths, right? You could take the, Pandora model, free, mildly curated, and then put it on a device. You take the Rhapsody model, and then I forgot the third model I had, but there's another one. So I'm just interested in sort of what direction you're taking, or I was going to use the Slingbox model to sort of use your I get my Boston radio here. I'm just interested in what starting point. Because while you're right, I think the younger generation doesn't listen to radio anymore, they're also very trained on a number of models, right? Whether you get it off of whatever peer-to-peer service or you go curate the heck out of Pandora for 6 months and it plays exactly what you want it to. So how do you combat that? For me, I just get my Rhapsody subscription and I listen to music whenever I want, whenever, it doesn't make a difference. So I'm just sort of like, how do you combat the existing buying habits of people that aren't listening to radio?
Well, I think if you want to change their habits, you have to offer them something better, and we do. Okay. Right? Everything that I showed you is completely user-controlled. You don't like the song, you put fast forward. You want to hear the song again, you hit rewind. You want to skip past the commercials, you hit fast forward. That's the kind of experience that you can't get on traditional radio today. On the Rhapsody point, hey, Rhapsody's a great service, but it's expensive, right? It's $10 a month. That's $120 a year. Most people are not going to pay $120 a year for music. It doesn't mean that much to them. And I think so that market, I think, is a relatively small market.
But how much, and I sound really sort of cliche here, is radio a lean forward experience, which you're claiming that it is, versus a lean back experience, right? My experience with music is that it's a lean back experience. I don't really want to interact every single song as I go through things, right? I mean, that's part of the challenge of getting up and going on Pandora.
I think his point might be that talk radio is a different experience than listening to music.
Yeah, talk radio is a 3-hour experience versus a 3-minute.
Okay, I totally understand that. What I didn't hear, sorry, is that it's focused on talk radio.
Oh, yeah, no, he said that. And it's also the nice thing is that there seems to be a menu from music to talk radio and everything in between. You mentioned the DVR, it's 40% of the homes. My question is, what stops DAR from suffering the same fate as TiVo, which is you've created this incredible system and then everyone else takes it and TiVo subscribers go from 5 million to 200,000.
Right. Well, fortunately, radio stations can't offer this, right, because of the Section 114 copyright law. So they can't offer this. So radio stations are out. The advantage that we have is that today we're launching the service, And today, we're available on all major smartphones, on 50 models of internet radios. It's really hard to get into a device like this. It takes 2 years. So if one of you guys is trying to compete with me out there, these little frisky entrepreneurs, that's going to be the challenge, right? It's not just the recording part on the front end. You could get that in 4 months. It's the whole ecosystem where you're recording it, and then you can take out your Android phone and click play. Or you can go into your house, and we're on the Roku, that little brilliant video box. We're on that. You click play, and there's the Glenn Beck that you recorded, that you listened to, or your Dr. Laura, or whatever it is.
So, I mean, I actually like the presentation. I think there's a market here somewhere. I'm not sure how much monetization or where it comes from, but it's an interesting concept. The only thing I kind of take a task a little bit is on the design issues. Like that UI experience felt like it was very sort of complex. I mean, I'd love to see ways that you have sort of social models where somebody's doing that, but then everybody else follows the playlists or sort of that experience, and then maybe I just like, deal with the slider for repeats and other things. But, in general, I mean, I think the user behavior on sort of DVR is proven, so it's not so great a leap of faith to think that, there's still a market for radio, there's still a market for people who want to listen to radio and have that, replay experience, so I kind of get that.
So it's Dave McClure approved, the presentation was to your expectation and okay?
This is
The energy level was appropriate?
No, the presentation sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
I disagree with a little bit of the UX issues and other things,
Yeah.
but I got what you were saying. It's an
David
interesting
Sachs, what do you
value
think?
prop.
Well, so I have a couple more questions about it because it's really interesting. So once you have recorded the audio, what can you do with it? Can I only play it in your player? And then sort of the follow-up to that is the set list that you create out of the recording. Can I move the songs around? Can I rip them? And I mean, is this a way to harvest free music off the internet, or how much control do I have over that?
Pretty much yes to everything you said. So we provide a web player, but if someone wants to create their own web player, which people have, they can do that. We provide an Android client, but the iPhone client was written by other folks. There's several Palm clients. There's 2 Windows 7 clients, all written by other folks using the API that connect in the system. So we're not saying you must use this interface. When we dump the music in to DAR, it's exactly like the radio station. There's a playlist, so if you play it back, you can play it just like the radio station played it. However, all of the tracks can be search sorted. You can make new playlists, put it on shuffle, all of those sorts of things too. So it really is a way to harvest music, if you will. Now, these are radio edits, I should stress, right? What does that mean? That means it's lower fidelity. The typical radio station online is transmitting at 32 kilobits AAC compared to, what's iTunes at 150, Amazon's at 256. So these are a lot lower fidelity. They're about FM stereo quality, and they'll have ragged beginnings and ends. Because our technology looks to see when we think the song started and stopped, but those songs are all mashed together because they're right from the radio. So it's not going to be necessarily a replacement for buying the song.
And how long can you keep the files? Because I know some people like to archive, like if I could download all the New York Knicks, post-game shows on WFAN, which I can't do right now, and it's a real pain in the neck for me, which I'm really looking forward to doing with this, because they are radio-enabled. Can I keep them forever, or does it expire at a certain point? And how much storage do you give people? And because that's a service I would pay for. I would want to keep that forever.
Right, so we give 2 gigs of storage for free. It's not we, there's another company that we're using for the storage backend, that's MP3 Tunes, and so we have a partnership with them. They give you 2 gigs for free, and because these are lower fidelity than your typical audio files, your music files, that's absolutely a monster amount of audio. But if people want to get more storage, they can buy that from MP3 Tunes.
Awesome. Yossi, final word?
I would like to ask a question which doesn't relate to the product, but I think is very interesting. Michael, you really were there in the very beginning, and you saw how this industry changed, collapsed, rebuilt in the last, I think, 98. I saw you on the top of this snowy mountain in Utah.
That's right.
98, now it's 211, so it's like 13 years. How do you see these 13 years, the change in the music industry?
I haven't seen a lot of change in the music industry, sadly. The challenge is the companies have been bought and sold several times. I think 2 of them are for sale right now. But the legal departments haven't changed one bit. And the legal departments just think sue everybody. And boy, that's been a disaster over the last decade. And I still don't think it's changed. I mean, a lot of people ask me, what are the record labels going to think about DAR? I don't know, right? I don't know. They're going to be, probably watching this, or they'll hear about this. I don't think there's been enough change in the record labels, but here's the news. CD sales are absolutely cratering. I mean cratering. That will force change, and I hope that is a much more openness. If I was running a record label, let anybody take the music and do anything you want with it up to 100,000 users. After you've proven you can get 100,000 users, then I'm going to start charging you, right? I'd use all the people in this room as my R&D lab, but that's not the way their thinking is because they just don't understand the net. So as a tech guy, it's been so frustrating over the last decade, and I swore to myself, I'm not going to do another digital music thing, and here I am at launch. Thanks, Jason.
They pulled you back in. All right, let's hear from Michael.
Thanks, guys.
Awesome.